Oh, good people, glad to know you are there. I welcome you back from a long vacation. It has been a wonderful moment off the camera, and I am super excited knowing that you are still there. I am back, better equipped to give you the best on the topic we have at hand, which has to do with a national constitution that was given to the nation of Israel, which determined their success and failure in life. Their success when they kept to it, and their failure when they decide or choose not to keep to it. We've been talking about that, and I promise you now, it will be more mind-blowing and more explosive as I come with the messages contained therein. Permit me to remind you where I stopped the last time. It has to do with the demise of the great leader of the people through whom God handed over that particular set of rules or constitution to them. And that man went out of the way, and I reminded us that every human being born of a woman, whether in the political class, whether in the academic class, whether in the business class, or whichever field of life, and no matter the extent you have achieved enough in this life, one day people will look for you and you will be no more. Then I told us that the way they went about that constitution that was handed over to them by that their great leader mattered so much in their affairs as well as their history. Today we are going to continue with the development after that great man that received that wonderful constitution demised. Permit me to read for you a narrative that gave us a clear picture of what happened. From here, we now continue to see some other victories as well as failures that they encountered as a nation up until today in history. Permit me to read for you a very interesting narrative from the book of Judges, chapter number 2. I will be reading from verses number 8 to 23, and this forms the background from where we'll be talking everything you'll be hearing from now henceforth. And I read, Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath-Heres in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. After that whole nation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. They forsook the Lord, the God of their ancestors who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshipped various gods of the peoples around them. They aroused the Lord's anger because they forsook him and served Baal and the Ashtoreth. In his anger against Israel, the Lord gave them into the hands of raiders who plundered them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around whom they were no longer able to resist. Whenever Israel went out to fight, the hand of the Lord was against them to defeat them, just as he had sworn to them. They were in great distress. Then the Lord raised up judges who saves them out of the hands of their raiders. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but prostituted themselves to other gods and worshipped them. They quickly turned from the ways of their ancestors and who had been obedient to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for them, he was with the judge and saved them out of the hands of their enemies as long as the judge lived. For the Lord relented because of their groaning under those who oppressed and afflicted them. But when the judge died, the people returned to ways even more corrupt than those of their ancestors, following other gods and serving and worshiping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways. Therefore, the Lord was very angry with Israel and said, because this nation has violated the covenant I ordained for their ancestors and has not listened to me, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Joshua left when he died. I will use them to test Israel and see whether they will keep the way of the Lord and walk on it as their ancestors did. The Lord had allowed those nations to remain and did not drive them out at once by giving them into the hands of Joshua. This is just the narrative. Very, very crucial to all we'll be saying, because we want to be looking at what happened to this nation, juxtaposing it with what is happening in Africa, as well as what is happening in the body of Christ. Remember, that is our focal point in everything we'll be saying. Two things we want to look at today. Number one, the demise of the generation that received that very constitution live from their great leader. Number two, that generation that saw the great and powerful works or deeds of the God who gave that constitution to that great leader, Moses. Then their reaction, that is the reaction of that very generation that followed after, who don't know what happened and how they came about the constitution that they had. We discover that in the history of any nation, there are always this gap that leads to either success or destruction of the nation. Even in Africa today, if we look at what we call the founding fathers of Africa, they did wonders when they were in the scene. But when they left the scene, those who came after them turned many of the nations of Africa into a chaotic atmosphere or environment. We want to say that it is very, very crucial that we look into the way we started when our nation were found. For instance, my nation, Nigeria. I know the history of the founding fathers of this nation. They meant well for my nation, but today, what we are seeing, reverse is the case. Meanwhile, we want to really look at what the future holds for us as a nation in African continent, having chosen to go by the way we are going today. Number two, we will also look at the body of Christ, which has a set of rules that governs them and has been neglected at a time like this. What the future holds for us is very, very crucial. Permit me to stop here for today. We continue the next time. Call me Pastor Elisha, the rising voice in Africa and the reformer with a difference. Thank you for watching.